The human named Rallen had never expected his life to take him so far from the quiet world where he was born. He had been an explorer, a traveler who chose the unknown skies over any comfortable life on solid ground. The universe was wide, filled with wonders and dangers, and he wanted to see all of it. Yet nothing had prepared him for the day he crossed paths with the royal family of a distant star kingdom, or for the moment when his courage would change the course of that kingdom forever. The palace of the Alara Dominion floated like a crystal citadel above a glowing sea of clouds. Towers rose in spirals of silver stone, and bridges curved through open air as if drawn by the hands of ancient dreamers. Rallen had arrived there as a guest, invited to observe the unique energy systems of the Dominion, systems far more advanced than anything humanity had ever created. Though the invitation was generous, everyone understood it was also a test to judge whether humans could be trusted. Rallen stood before the great gates, watching the shimmering patterns of light that decorated the metal. Beside him stood the royal guard, their armor smooth and pale like moonlight. They led him inside with silent steps. The great hall stretched out like the inside of a glowing cavern, each panel of the walls alive with softly shifting color. At the far end stood the queen, tall and radiant, with eyes that held the calm weight of someone who governed thousands of worlds. Her daughter, Princess Alara, stood beside her. She was smaller in frame, yet stronger in spirit than anyone expected. She had always been curious about other species, and when she saw Rallen enter, she studied him openly. His posture was straight, his steps steady, his eyes observant but respectful. Many humans carried fear when standing before alien royalty, but Rallen only felt determination to learn. That quiet strength captured the princess's interest from the start. The queen welcomed him with a soft nod. Rallen bowed. The exchange was simple, yet it marked the beginning of everything that would follow. For the next days, he studied their technology closely. The Dominion powered its cities with living energy drawn from the heart of their planet's crystalline core. The princess, fascinated by how humans shaped their own machines with more primitive tools, asked him countless questions. Rallen answered each one patiently. With time, they walked together through the palace gardens, where plants shimmered in colors humans could barely name. The princess found herself amused by the way Rallen reacted to every new sight, sometimes amazed, sometimes puzzled, but always eager. One evening they traveled together to a floating platform where the Dominion stored ancient relics. The air was calm, glowing faintly from the energy fields that held the platform aloft. The princess explained the history of the crystals that had powered their ships for ages. When she stepped closer to a glowing pillar to show him a marking, the ground beneath them trembled. Rallen reacted before he had time to think. A blast of unstable energy erupted from the platform's edge. The princess had been standing too close. The explosion rushed forward like a wave. Without hesitation, he hurled himself toward her and tackled her out of the way. The wave hit him with full force. His body slammed against the ground. His vision blurred. Pain drowned every breath. The world spun as the platform's alarms echoed across the sky. Guards rushed in. The queen arrived moments later. She saw her daughter unharmed, and Rallen lying unconscious. His skin was burned. Blood seeped from his ribs. The blast had been powerful enough to destroy a shuttle. A human was never meant to withstand something like that. Yet he had used his body as a shield. He should have died then, but his pulse held on, thin and flickering like a fading ember. The queen's expression tightened. She ordered her healers to do everything in their power. As they carried Rallen toward the palace infirmary, the princess kept her hand near his arm, unable to look away from the one who had sacrificed himself so easily for her. The Dominion healers worked for hours. Their tools hummed with soothing energy. They sealed torn flesh, mended broken ribs, and eased the burning in his lungs. Even so, his recovery was uncertain. Human bodies healed slower than Alara bodies. The princess sat by his side day after day, watching the rise and fall of his chest. She often held his hand without noticing. The queen saw this, but said nothing. When Rowland finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the princess leaning closer, with relief brightening her face. Her voice trembled slightly when she spoke. She thanked him for saving her. Rowland shook his head weakly and said he only did what anyone should do. But everyone in the Dominion knew otherwise. Most would have run. He had not. Word of his courage spread through the royal courts. Some considered him reckless. Others admired him. Some feared what his bravery meant, for if humans possessed such resolve, they could become powerful allies or dangerous rivals. The queen considered all of these things carefully. Yet above all, she saw a human whose heart had proven stronger than the blast that nearly ended him. As Rowland's strength returned, he walked again through the palace corridors. The guards saluted him. Workers thanked him. The queen observed him from the upper balcony when she thought he would not notice. She found herself studying him the way she once studied the leaders of distant worlds. Something in him felt ancient and steady, as if the universe had crafted him with the same iron that forged warriors of her own people. One morning she summoned him before the entire court. The hall was filled with nobles, whose clothing shimmered like liquid metal. The princess stood near her mother, her expression wary because she did not know what the queen planned. Rowland stepped forward, still slightly stiff from his injuries, but standing tall. The queen rose from her throne. Her voice carried through the hall with calm authority. She declared that by saving her daughter Rowland had proven a loyalty that not even the Dominion's greatest champions had shown. She spoke of his courage, his instinct to protect, and his refusal to ask for reward. She then proclaimed that one who showed such rare devotion could not remain a mere guest. Rowland listened carefully, unsure what she intended. The nobles whispered among themselves. The queen then looked directly at him and spoke words that stunned everyone in the room. She proclaimed that Rowland, by his act of sacrifice, was now under her own protection and care. She declared him bound to her, a part of the royal family's future. Her words were simple, yet carried the weight of unbreakable law. She ended her decree with a final sentence that silenced the hall. She proclaimed, "He is mine." The chamber froze. Nobles stared in disbelief. Even the princess looked at her mother in shock. Rowland stood still, trying to understand the meaning behind those words. The queen had claimed him not as a possession, but as a chosen guardian of the throne, someone entwined with the royal family's destiny. It was a position of honor few in the Dominion ever received. Rowland felt a pressure in his chest that had nothing to do with his injuries. He took a slow breath and bowed with sincerity. He had never sought titles or power, yet he could not deny what this moment meant. To be claimed by the queen was to be trusted with a future beyond anything he had imagined. The queen descended from her throne. She stepped toward him and studied his face. She saw the quiet strength that had drawn her attention before. There was no fear in his eyes, only resolve. She placed her hand on his shoulder, and the hall echoed with the soft hum of ceremonial energy that sealed her proclamation. From that day onward, Rowland walked the palace halls not as a visitor, but as one who belonged. The princess often accompanied him, teaching him the deeper meanings behind the Dominion's customs. She laughed when he stumbled during their sky dances, a traditional form of movement practiced on floating platforms. Rowland, in turn, taught her about the stars he had visited, the deserted worlds filled with cold ruins, the gentle planets where rain fell like warm silver, and the small human settlements where people gathered near firelight. The queen observed them quietly. She saw how the princess had grown braver because of Rowland. She saw how Rowland listened with respect when learning from her daughter. The connection forming between them was something natural and strong. It reminded the queen of the ancient stories, when alliances between species shaped entire ages of peace. Yet the Dominion was not without enemies. A rival faction known as the Thaler sect coveted the crystal core that powered the Dominion. They saw Rallan as a weakness, believing the queen's interest in him distracted her judgment. In secret, they plotted to strike. One night, Rallan sensed something wrong as he walked along the outer bridge of the palace. A cold wind swept across the walkway, and the lights dimmed in a way they never had before. He saw a shadow shift near the support beams. Instinct surged within him. He ran toward the palace and spotted masked figures moving silently toward the princess's chamber. Without hesitation, he drew the small pulse blade he had been trained to use and intercepted them. The fight erupted in a rush of sparks. The attackers were stronger and faster, enhanced by stolen technology. Rallan dodged a strike that would have crushed his ribs and countered with a precise cut along the attacker's arm. Another swung a heavy staff at him. He ducked and rolled, then used the momentum to drive his blade into a weak joint of the attacker's armor. His breath came sharp but steady. He had no backup. Yet he had no intention of letting the enemy reach the princess. One of the mask,